couple of years ago, I was listening to Audible, right? And I had this book by Professor MagiTech Martin. It's called Life 3.0. It's about superintelligence. And he talked about a superintelligent AI making this streaming service that was just kind of like brute forcing it and just inventing everything that you could imagine. And then I watched what was going on, right? And looked at Runway and looked at Sora and all these other services. And I thought, well, this is a direction that we may end up in. But in the meantime, I bet we're going to see a bunch of people that make systems that essentially just algorithmically look at what's been successful in the past and start generating scripts for it. But I thought that there was just this potential of like AI slop, basically streaming services coming, and I thought, wouldn't it be great to give like to democratize storytelling? First of all, make sure that people who just have like an idea for like their world and some characters, but don't really know storytelling to kind of shepherd them through the process, and then make a transmedia IP development platform. Okay, transmedia IP development platform means that what we're doing is we're focusing first with the narrative, right? I've been a consultant and been a BA, and what you do is you look at business processes and you start to break out nouns and verbs and all that. And I started to just look at story writing like that, just so that I can provide tools. Okay, I listened to experts in the field, and I built what I think is going to be interesting and helpful. And from this core narrative management system, you can then generate out assets in all sorts of form factors, whether it's Blender models or long form narration or graphic novels or game assets, whatever, right? It gives you the basic. Oh, sorry, getting ahead of myself. Getting ahead of myself. There we go. So when you come into Omnigeist, the first thing that you're gonna get hit up with is a tutorial, because it's just going to explain a different way of thinking about this, right? The first thing that you want to do is you want to understand context. Okay. In Omnigeist, these ideas of a metaverse, the metaverse is just like saying your IP, like saying Marvel or Star Wars. It's a way to make sure that Doctor Who's not showing up in Warhammer, right? It's just these are bubbles and that's it. Bubble verses are just sort of a agnostic term for all of the different instances of reality in your metaverse, right? Those are your timelines, your what ifs, those are your alternative realities, all that stuff. It's important to have because we're going to be checking your narrative and your canon and making sure that new content that's introduced to your universe doesn't collide with any existing rules. And so we need to be able to scope that in the system down to a world, a location, a time, a place, a person, all sorts of things. There's an AI guide, right? It's just telling you there's a copilot and you can ask it to do stuff and you can tell you about its tools and you can tell you how to use it. Whatever. What we're going to do first is we're just going to gather metadata about your story and about your world and all that stuff. You can get into it, but if you start up this wizard, I would say keep it fairly light. Is scaffolding, right? A structure of metadata begins to give you and the AI a source of the sense of truth, right? The grounding that's required to then go on to the next step, which is writing out your long form narrative and or your outline, and then from there to other media, right? Anyways, characters, it's saying living characters because if you use this system in the way that I'm describing, again, you can use this to make one story and forget about it. But if you want to have an account where you're building out a story world, these characters have histories and other characters will know about them, right? This is AI talking to AI at that point in time. We have narrative frameworks because that's for a lot of us. I'd never even heard of like these different structures before. And it helps if you're trying to like if you're kind of stuck and you like got ideas about characters or worlds or cultures and different situations but you don't really know how to put it all together. Try it out. Try a few different structures, right? um, Past the structures, we're going to get into this thing that's going to show you the 36 dramatic situations in relationship to your narrative structure, your story structure. So you can start to weave these things together into story beats. And I'll show you that. That's pretty cool. There's also a chronicle system. Chronicles are the events that are registered throughout your universe, your timeline, your world, the locations, the people, the stories, all those things. It's our first defense against introducing um, a narrative conflict that will have to be resolved. The narrative merge system essentially uses canon and vector databases and stuff like that to see if you are in chat where you're ideating or in your outline where you're putting down what you're going to be creating, introducing canon that is unaligned. And what happens is then, since we have a bubbleverse system, if you are dead set on no, Superman born in Latvia, right? And you want to try that out, you can either alter your narrative or you can say, I'm going to create an alternative reality and explore that. Okay. Or you can keep it simple. There's no rules. Anyways, journey begins, ta-da, you're done. And so you begin with this wizard. And I got to tell you, I've done this so many times. I now have I've been writing up some of the goofiest stuff. This thing's actually pretty fun, but now I'm just going to paste junk in. So I'm going to say basic. If you're selecting basic, that's what I meant by like if you just want to do a story and you don't really care about all that metaverse stuff. You get a little wizard. It's telling you what this is. This is that scaffolding I was talking about. Look, there's this action plan. The goal is for it to know all these things, and then it's going to generate entities in the system or story assets. Okay. Each entity or asset in the system has its own copilot with its own functions, and I'll show you a few of them, not all of them. I got some things I want to drop in here. Okay, so first of all, like we saw on the action plan, we've identified a metaverse. It's just picked random names for these things because they don't really matter. If you go advanced mode, it lets everything has a wizard and everything. So we're a copilot. So where am I? So let me talk to it. I'm just going to paste some stuff in that I wrote before. Okay. It's about Marcus the Worm and Jimbo James. Marcus the Worm is a very deep voice and seems very intent on his own internal goals, self-conscious about whatever. His wrinkles and afraid of heights. Jimbo James, a little fellow who looks like a frog and only speaks Cantonese. I'm going to actually do that because I feel bad about that. And he's in the cartel. Yeah, we think he escaped from jail. Make the Marcus and Jimbo characters. So I'm just starting off with that. See if I get characters out of this. See over here, I'll get an update. Also, it has been like running pretty slow because I've just been beating up my machine. This is also a dev environment, if I hadn't made that clear. So, whatever. Marcus Storm. So it made Marcus Storm and Jimbo faster. Yeah, there they are. All right. So it was a slow refresh thing. That's all. So yeah, we see in the AI copilot, whenever you interact with it and it calls a function, it's going to always keep transparency so that you can see what's going on. And one of the neat things is that you can read it and just see like the raw data if you want, and then you can see how that informs the information it hands back to you. So now we got our characters, and now did it update our action plan? You betcha, right? We got two characters. I now need a world and a location. Well, the world's already there, but I think we can update it. Right, that's just a pretty basic one. It's a VR world. It's very strange. We're going to start in the VR Kmart, update the world, and add the Kmart location. Boom. See if we get that. Do it live. If you guys are not on Marcus the Worm TikTok, that's the person. So okay, yeah, it overwrote the world. And again, we're really just stubbing this out at this point in time. And there we go. Bam. We got everything, right? Oh, well, we don't have a story. Let me do this real quick. Audience. Oh, okay. I think um G13. We're gonna get something out of that. Yeah, because we have a system where it understands what the MVP for your story idea, it looks like. And really, this isn't even the system. This is basically like make a new project. That's the process that we're going through right now. What did it give us? Yeah, it just gave a name and description. It didn't go too hard onto this. Where we go? Oh, it gave us more than that. It just truncated that. Okay, there we go. So name, description, plot. Marcus the Worm and his new friend Badoinky help Jimbo James, a resourceful frog-like character. Yeah, like that's fine. This is what I mean by like if you have real ideas, I have real ideas in the system, but if you have real ideas, it does more with it. I'm just being a goofball right now. So I'm ready to go. I came up with an action plan. I'm going to say create all the story assets, and then we can actually be in the whole narrative building system. It's very simple. Here's show you. I hope that people like this and they think it's fun, right? Because I think that it's helpful too. All of this is in development. It's all subject to change. The wording is me just trying out a lot of different things because I'm trying to express ideas for systems that I don't think I've ever seen before. Okay. So we've got now this whole timeline that's going to help you figure out how to build all the metadata that we want for your story up through creating it. And all of the different types of story assets, whether they are your metaverse, your bubble verses, the worlds that are in there, locations. You can just kind of like talk with them and the story templates that are in there, and you can bring them in and you can add context. Like I think I could just say like, there's going to definitely be some auditing on the tools. And I do. Is this because I'm a polite person? Yeah. So it's given us a list of a bunch of the basically like read write stuff it's telling us about. Okay. So that it can have context ad hoc as it needs to as you're talking to it, right? So that's the idea. And we've got our narrative context. Each of these story assets, be it the metaverse, bubbleverse, world, character, location, entities, like all these things, they all have a report card because you can ask the AI to give you feedback. And it's all done contextually through the idea of you would probably like to have feedback from, for example, like a persona of an editor, of a persona of, that type of thing. So you can get a few different answers back and it's going to give you like some stuff to do, right? Here's some stuff that looks good. Here's some stuff that could get worked on, right? Um, and it's just going to give you those report cards right here. All right. And then grounding, all this stuff is kind of like further on. You know what? I'm just going to go further on and show you. So context, that's again what we were talking about. Where in the universe is this foundation is going to be just some basic, yeah. What's your target audience? What's your genre? And adventure fantasy, great. And setting details. And you can add all this stuff in because, again, this is like you and your AI assistants and other people establishing what is canon, what is the feel that we're going for, what is the tone of voice. Later on, we can show personas that we're using to generate outlines. Okay, here's your characters that it made. They don't have much of anything right now, okay? They just exist. And I'm a little bit disappointed that it didn't make the Dinky Bones. I'm gonna have to check that out. But let's start with Marcus, right? Man, you work with what you got, right? Marcus the Worm. Okay, he doesn't have any pictures. He should probably be like, I don't know, man. Let's say he's the protagonist. Is he an enthusiast? I'm gonna go back one. Okay, that's my Marcus. Let's say like here's an example. This will be perfect. So like I mentioned, I've made no allusions to like the idea that I'm a writer. I'm not. So I'm just gonna tell it to just so that you know, guys. Like this is who we're talking about when I say Marcus the Worm. Okay. All right. Give me a second here. Okay. Okay. I edited that out, I'm sure. So I am trying You get it to make a suggestion for me to basically rewrite my take on what Marcus the Worm looks like. Okay. And now it's saying that suggests his Marcus the Worm has long, sinuous body reminiscent of nylon stretched over a pool noodle, giving him a unique, flexible appearance. His torso is worm-like, right? So again, it's telling us the function call was executed, but actually has something different here as a suggestion. You can have multiple suggestions at a given time. We don't have an existing value, so it's not going to show you the existing was, but it's going to tell you the reason, right? The reason why it's giving us this. Hold on, so let me do that. So the reason why it's telling me this is incorporates the user's initial ideas about Marx's appearance, emphasizing his unique humanoid yet worm-like form, blah, 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 blah. But you get the idea, right? You can chat, you can ask for a suggestion, and then you, hold on a second. I'm pretty sure that, hold on, before I'm all over the place. I'm going to press a button. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to press a button over there. I'm going to do a thing over here. Let's see, because now I got a description of what he looks like. I want to see what the picture is that he makes, because we got that one over there. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh no! Oh no! Oh Marcus! Oh Marcus! My heart, Marcus. My boy. What did they do to my boy? Oh. Okay, so anyways, he's a puka. He's chilling. Anyways, okay, so I'll get back over to that. So, right. So it's telling you things like involvement with the cartel, and then you do what I did, where you tell it, great, please make a suggestion for the character arc based on this and that. And then you start to cobble together the idea of this person in the context of your story. All right. I'll get to the magic systems in a second. That's too funny. Too much. Where? Leave it back. Okay. Do I look at the world building? There's a whole path for world building that I'm okay. I'm not going to get into the whole world building thing real quick, but this is a magic system. Okay. Magic systems are pretty cool. You can, yeah, I don't want to take up your whole day, but like you can create magic systems that basically are like a MagiTech system because you could be doing the force, you could be doing psycho powers, you could be doing faster than light rules, Borg tech, cleric spells, anything. And since this is going to be your single source of truth, if you define it well enough, once the AI can generate Blender assets or start generating assets for video games, you've got the rules for how these things interact already because you can just chat with it and be like if the Morrigan's using crow's flight and goes and somewhere there's this other school and they have true sight, let's resolve it like this, and you capture that information and now it's in the database. We understand how this works, right? So everybody in the team knows this is how these things resolve. That's Puka. So back over here, right? Before I let you go, before I let you go, I want we got the characters, okay? There's Marcus. All right. Then you're gonna do story structure, okay? Story structures. I'm starting off with just six. I think there's like you can use whatever you want to use, right? I'm just adding tools in. You press all the buttons, see how they work, right? The short story is very simple. If you have not used a short story structure before, you go to the story beat section. It's going to show you what this looks like. You start with expedition, rising action, climax, blah 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 blah. If we go back over, we can select a different one, and sure enough, you got a whole different story structure, right? This one represents the hero's journey. Now, in each of these elements of your story structure, what you're going to do, and my next task here is to update this chat so that as previously, it gave you like a nice little interface that said your previous description was this value, your recommended is this value, the reason why I recommended is this. What I want you to be able to do here is to be able to just talk about scenarios, right? So now this is where you say, listen, Marcus and Jimbo James are going to smuggle in file and a cake, right? And it's going to know to look up the 36 dramatic situations. It's going to ask questions like, well, this is, oh, so they're already in prison? Like, how did this start, right? So it's going to help you to structure your narrative. And you do that by, I think this only needs two people, right? Because we only have Prometheus and okay. So let me go with supplication, right? We're not going to build out a whole schmeal, but supplication requires an authority and a supplicant. So we'll go ahead and we'll edit this, right? We're going to say, I asked Marcus to help you break out of jail. And in that scenario, we got Jimbo and Marcus. Okay, he has the cake with the file. He wants to get out too. I, I apologize for not having any good ideas right now, but like I'm just plugging this stuff in so that you can see the idea. And you need to build this out so that it's like I said, garbage in, garbage out. If you fill this out, it's not going to pass report card. It's going to be like, this is not sufficient. I think that you can do better. Try, right? And then you get to the outlining part, and we got a process that's going to go through and validate that everything it's imagining is correct and in line with all of the stuff we've been building on top of each other. And I think that's about all that I really want to show for right now about Omnigeist. And I hope that that was fun. I hope that it's interesting. And I've never done a call to action before. If you're interested and you want early access and you want to sign up and you want to get in here and play around and tell me what you like, what you don't like, how you think that you could use this, and let me know. I want to because I want to get some people in for early access and start playing around with it. And yeah, so I'll put a link below.